everybody, so I've been asked to put this video together on behalf of St Helens and Knowsley Hospital to share with you my eyebrow expertise to get you through the rest of lockdown as we're waiting for salons to open back up. I called Jen and I run a home-based salon in Widnes called Severe Rose Beauty. I've been doing eyebrows for over 5 years and I've trained up to a master stylist with HD brows, and I also was a HD brows elite stylist and trainer working on behalf of HD, so I could teach others to do eyebrows as well as obviously working from my home-based salon. I would say most clients come to me to get their eyebrows done because they're wanting to get the best shaped eyebrows that suit their face but also their style as well. Obviously if you are a teenager or if you are more mature, you're going to have different wants out the shape of the eyebrow that you're wanting to have. So first of all, I wanted to talk to you about eyebrow health and keeping your hairs as healthy as they can. So that is in terms of feeding your eyebrows, but also the way you remove your makeup at the end of the day, you know, night shift. Most of us are going to be conditioning our hair, we're going to be moisturising our skin, but our eyebrows and eyelashes are definitely forgotten about. So it can be as basic as a cheap castor oil off Amazon. So I just get the plucking castor oil, cold pressed organic, and I just decant these, especially clients who have been getting brow lamination. I decant these as like part of their aftercare so they can keep the eyebrows conditioned after having a treatment done. But obviously even without having something like brow lamination done, this is great. Or you can get obviously just a spoolie, dip it in, wipe the excess off and comb through. I would say this is quite gluggy and quite oily, so this would probably just be a nighttime kind of routine. If you're wanting something a little bit less messy, a bit cleaner, and obviously something you can use in the day and then put makeup on over the top, then I would recommend Nuvo's Lash and Brow Conditioning Serum. There is all sorts of, you know, lash and brow conditioning serums out there, so you can obviously have a little look. It's just like a mascara, this one, like a clear mascara, so you can brush that through, allow for it to dry, and then you can apply your eyebrow makeup or your mascara or anything else after it. If you struggle with kind of your eyebrows being wiry and quite coarse, you'll notice how much more manageable they become as well by them being conditioned and hydrated. So that's another good reason to actually be looking after the health of your eyebrows. Another really big thing is when you're removing your makeup. So certain products that are kind of maybe water resistant or waterproof and they've got more staying power, they are more than likely going to be harder to get off. So what you don't want to be doing is kind of really scrubbing and, you know, rubbing away at the brows. So I would say to get cotton pads with like an oil-based remover and hold it on for 30 seconds or so and kind of wipe it clean and just repeat where you need to. Just to avoid, rubbing, because then you're going to break hairs, you're going to potentially encourage them to fall out prematurely, and that's what obviously you don't want to do. That eyebrows are sisters, not twins, but if they're starting to resemble not even like cousins, then we've got a problem, and I wanted just to put these tips together for you. Okay, so the tips for plucking. I'd say first of all, 95% of my clients are on a regrowth program, so that's why I always advise don't pluck, just because obviously it's quite easy to start with one and then keep on taking too many before you've started taking bits that you're trying to regrow back in. What I definitely advise for you to make sure you have is lots of natural light. I like a mirror so that I can actually see both eyebrows. If you are kind of concentrating on one eyebrow, you'll find you might end up going too heavy-handed. So if you can kind of see both at the same time and kind of be looking at each one, if that makes sense, so you can kind of see. Some people find it helpful if you're quite okay with actually doing eyebrows anyway in terms of filling them in, is they will sketch, you know, they'll kind of fill in their eyebrows as if they're doing the makeup, or you could get highlighter, for example, and kind of carve the shape out underneath so that you're kind of setting that parameter then of where you don't want to remove any hair. So I always start with finding the middle of the brows, and then what you want to do is find where your eyebrows are going to start. So if you imagine the bridge of your nose where your glasses sit, you're going to kind of come up and you're going to come out. And again, you're going to do the same. I'm going to find the bridge and then come out. But the idea is you never pluck where you are wanting to grow to give them the allow them to grow if they are going to grow. So always mark on kind of that part. Some people used to go from the outer part of the nose, but you'll find obviously some people's noses are more broader as well, so you can end up with really quite spaced apart brows, which makes your eyes look quite wide set as well. So go with that rule of the bridge and up and out slightly. Then find the kind of length of your eyebrows, so you're going from the outer corner of the nose through the outer bottom lashes to find the end point of your eyebrow. Avoid, when you're kind of doing it, you don't want the end to be kind of long, what's the word, more drop down here. So you want that tail to be sitting in line with the front of your eyebrow or a little bit higher. If it goes down too long, you'll find your face starts to kind of pull down and you look a little bit sad. I'd say don't pluck from the top. Obviously when you get your brows professionally mapped, we're going to be mapping properly where the arch should actually sit, but I would say just kind of follow where the highest part of your eyebrow is anyway. So in my part, obviously the highest part is kind of sitting around there. So if you obviously, you know, you've got your brows penciled in first to give you that little parameter, and you just kind of, you don't obviously want to go too high up either, so just imagine kind of carving out a little line underneath. You wouldn't want to be going too high, and then obviously any hairs that sit underneath them you can pluck out. So I always just kind of go like this when I'm going to remove the hairs. Also, you want to pull the hairs in the direction that they grow, so you'll find this is always away from the nose. So can you see how my hand is going that way? You don't want to be kind of pulling back on yourself, because what you're going to find then is you're going to twist the hair follicle. If you've got really long eyebrows, then I would probably, again I just don't have any, but I would brush off my eyebrows, and anything that are long and are sitting out higher, get some actually eyebrow scissors, because they're a lot sharper at the ends, and you want to, on an angle, kind of cut it just one. Don't be tempted to kind of go all along the way the top, because you're going to be left with real blunt eyebrows. Just kind of take out what really offends you, as against trying to full on shape your eyebrows. That's when you might kind of come into any trouble. And whatever you do take out, obviously it's going to take 4 to 6 weeks to actually grow back, so pluck carefully. The first thing I would think is remembering that your eyebrows need to complement your face and not overpower your face, so less is definitely more, and a little goes a long way. I always choose a shade, half shade or kind of a shade lighter than the eyebrows. Naturally, you can find the oils in the skin oxidise the pigment, so it can make the pencil actually go darker. So by starting that little bit lighter, you're going to end up with the colour that you want at the end. Hold back as well, starting at the fronts of the eyebrows. Even I have to tell myself this, it's just such a natural thing to kind of start at the beginning of the eyebrow. But I find if you start kind of the middle, kind of, or just, you know, kind of about here roughly-ish, kind of towards the tail first, you want to be applying in the sparsest areas within that section. The reason being, we're a bit heavier handed when we first start applying makeup. So the idea is then you want to adjust your pressure to lighter, so by the time you work through the fronts, you're going to get more of a wispier, lighter, softer finish that kind of eyebrows would naturally have. Also draw feather-like strokes, so avoid kind of colouring in an eyebrow. You want to just kind of do feather-like strokes in the direction of what the hair is actually growing. So obviously hairs at the front tend to kind of wisp up, and then obviously you're going to have hairs potentially growing down at the top, or kind of, you know, up underneath. So just look at the way your eyebrows naturally grow and continue that line. Less is more, so it's easier to build up the brow makeup than it is take any away. But if you have gone a little bit heavier, then just kind of use good old spoolie just to kind of brush through the brow, and that's going to soften anywhere that you've gone too heavy-handed with. This is the HD Brow Glue. I've used this, I mean there's lots of different similar things on the market, but this is definitely by far one of the best that I've ever used. Clients who've used it have said they've done HIIT workouts, they've not moved, so in terms of you doing a shift all day, you've got no worries about your brows not staying in place. Great if they're a little bit unruly, they're going to obviously hold them in place. If you want to create that kind of textured brushed up brow, so if you are a fan of brow lamination and you've had that done already, then this is going to give you a very, or as close as you can, kind of at home look with makeup. But I like to conceal under the eyebrows just to kind of give that illusion of them, kind of makes the eyebrows pop, if you like. There's so many different things on the market. Obviously you've got, you know, powders, pencils. You'll find some work better on oilier skins, some work better on drier skins, and also just how comfortable you feel with actually applying makeup. You may find a pencil just so much more easier than doing a powder, for example. So it's just a case of having a little play. I'm going to start with the powder. So obviously I have a big whopping eyebrow palette, which for you at home you can get these in much smaller versions, and obviously just the colours that you want. But the biggest thing I would say with your powders is they can be built upon. So you want to start off really quite light. They are great for sparse eyebrows because you can create a a soft natural finish, and obviously you can build on it if you're wanting to create more of a dramatic look. So always kind of go into a palette on the side, and then I'll kind of just knock the excess off. So I've not got kind of like, you know, anything too dark, and then I would just kind of flick through again like I would with a pencil, just to create that kind of finish. Pencils, that's what I say. I tend to use myself, it depends. Like I do use a powder, I do use a pencil. I've got pencil on today. I've got the HD's Brow Tech on. So there is 6 different shades. I use Foxy, which is kind of like a medium brown, so it's a lot more warmer in tone. And this create nice little hair strokes. So can you see what I mean by your pressure when you first apply? It's going to be darker, and then you can just adjust it naturally then as it's hitting your skin. Pomades, I never know quite how you say that, but I don't tend to use a lot of them as finishing a brow. They do give quite a bold brow, and the staying power on them, obviously they are a longer lasting formula. Last one I'm going to talk about is kind of like the mascara, like the gel mascaras. So as you can see, it's literally like a mascara wand. I'll use this on clients who like can't have tint as well. And what I do tend to do, I recommend this to clients as well, even at home, not just as a hygiene purposes for why I do it, but it's just to kind of get just a spoolie and get the excess off the brush. Sometimes when we go straight on with it, it can kind of spatter a little bit, you get too much of a build up on it. So by doing it that way, you will find you'll get a more natural finish. I find these are better for clients who have got full brows to begin with. So what I mean by that is not sparse gaps. So it doesn't matter if you've got fine hairs or whether they're thick hairs, but you just don't want big gaps. So for me, for example, I literally have no hair whatsoever underneath this brow here. So if I was to use a gel, it highlights the fact that I don't have any hair there, because the rest of the brows obviously become more textured and look fuller. And it just, even with makeup on underneath, just stands out that there's nothing there. So isn't for everybody, but obviously it's a great substitute for tint while you can't go and get your eyebrows tinted and everything at the minute. And just things to consider when you're next booking your appointment that a lot of people aren't really aware of doing. If you have changed your skincare products, when you kind of next go back for your appointment, inform your therapist. Certain ones can cause the skin to thin, especially kind of anti-aging type products. Retinol is a big no really when it comes to waxing, because the skin has become so much more sensitive, and obviously it's thinner, so when the wax goes on, you're a lot more likely to graze. So depending on what it is you are using, even eczema treatments as well, it's certain eczema creams that will also have the same effect. So just be aware of these things that you do put on your face and let your stylist know. Obviously, if you've not had your eyebrows done for 6 months, depending on when we open back up, you're going to need a new patch test. If you go to a new salon, then you're going to need a new patch test regardless of if it was only 4 months before you last had your eyebrows done. And also, if anything has changed with you, kind of medically, hormonal, you know, kind of illnesses, anything like that, again, that's another thing to kind of inform the therapist about. If you are having Botox or fillers, then you want to wait 2 weeks after having those done before having your brows done, just to allow the Botox and everything to kind of settle. and certain facials and peels as well, you're going to need some time towards it, so just kind of be aware of those things when making your appointment. But otherwise, I hope I've not been too boring and you found it all quite useful. Don't hesitate to get in touch with me if you've got any questions at all about kind of regrowth or colours of pencils or anything. I'm happy to help. But otherwise, I just want to say thank you all for doing an amazing job. I know so many people are in the same boat, and we're so grateful to have such an amazing NHS team here looking after us all. So a big thank you from me for all of your hard work, and yeah, bye. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.